All right, so we are going to do another transformation. We are going to do a rotation in order to create congruent triangles and to be able to identify the corresponding parts. So take your patty paper and you're going to fold it into 4 parts. So you're going to fold it in half lengthwise, and then you're going to fold it in half again. And try to line it up as best you can. Hopefully your patty paper is nice and even. Okay, so halfway, and then we're going to fold it in half once more. And make sure you put a real good crease on it so you can see it when we take it apart. Alright, so unfold the patty paper, and you can see that you have your creases there, and it's a little difficult to see the creases here and here. So what I want to do is go ahead and trace over those lines, those creases, so that you can see them. Use your straight edge. And remember, we're not measuring anything, we're just using the straight edge so that we can have some pretty nice straight lines. Okay? And turn it and do it again. Hopefully that's pretty straight. Alright, so now we have our patty paper. We want to set it up kind of like this is a coordinate grid, because we want to kind of stick with 90-degree rotations. So label each of the quadrants like you would if this was a coordinate grid. This would be quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2. Oops. We're going to do quadrant 3. And quadrant 4. Okay. We're going to use the center here as if it was the origin, and we're going to use it as the center of rotation. So in quadrant 2, we're going to just construct, we're just going to draw a triangle. And it needs to stay within quadrant 2. And it can be whatever kind of triangle you want it to be, as long as it stays within the triangle here, within the quadrant itself. Use your straight edge so that your lines are nice and straight. Okay? So now we have a triangle in quadrant 2. Now we need to duplicate this so that we can do our rotations. So take a second sheet of patty paper, lay it on top, and you're going to trace, line it up, and you're going to trace this triangle. And you're also going to put a mark here in the center so that we can keep everything lined up. And draw the line upwards with a little arrow so we know in which direction is up. So I'm going to trace my triangle here, and you do the same. A little bit off there, but we get the point. Alright, so we have our triangle. Now, I want to label this triangle so we have a reference triangle. This is going to be triangle ABC. So I'm just going to label mine A, B, C. Okay? So triangle ABC. And I'm going to construct or use rotation to create a new triangle here in quadrant 1. And we're going to use a 90-degree rotation. So take your patty paper with the arrow on it and line it back up with the first patty paper. Okay? Put your pen in the middle and press kind of firmly and just turn the top layer one time so that your arrow matches up with the new coordinate grid right there, this line. Alright, with that axis. And then you're going to trace the triangle into quadrant 1. And if it comes a little bit undone, just line it back up and go ahead and trim. So now I have a triangle in quadrant 1. And I need to name this triangle so that its parts are corresponding and congruent to triangle ABC. Okay? So here's a quick little way to cheat. Lay this back on top and label it just like you did the first one. A, B, C. So that when we put it underneath and we made our rotation like this, whoops, we can see where the letters actually line up. So wherever A is, that's where we're going to start naming it with the new one. So this one will be triangle DEF. Okay? So D, E, F. And we can start to make some comparisons. So we have two triangles. And let's go ahead and write the congruency statement for the triangles here. We're going to say that triangle ABC, whoops, ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Okay? Triangle DEF. So now we can make some marks on here. We can compare the angles and the corresponding angles. You can look at the letters. So angle A and angle D would match up. So we can put the congruency marks there. And then angle B with angle E, and we're going to use 2 here. And then angle C and angle F. And these are the corresponding angles. The corresponding angles have matching congruency marks for the angles. And we can do the same things for the side. AB is congruent to DE. BC is congruent to EF. And AC is congruent to DF. Okay? And you can actually write out those statements. All right. So now we're going to do this again so that we end up with a triangle in quadrant 4. And that's going to be 180-degree rotation. Let me mark this here. This is going to be the center of rotation is right here. Center of rotation. And then this was a 90-degree rotation here. Okay? So now we're going to do 180 degrees of rotation. So line everything back up. And instead of doing 1 turn, you're going to do 2. Okay? So hold it down. Top layer. That's 1 turn and 2 turns. Okay? And we're going to trace the triangle once more. And these are approximate. Okay? If our patty paper was exactly the way that it should be, then we would know for sure. But since we don't know for sure, since it's not exact, then we have to kind of assume, kind of make a guess there. Oops, I overshot that one. Okay? And again, you can see underneath where A would be. So then this would be triangle GHI. So we're going to start naming here at G. I'm going to turn it back around. So this would be G. This would be H. And this would be I. Okay? And then we can label this according to the markings we have for the first ones. Okay? Let me put it in just a little bit. All right, so angle G, let's write the statement here. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle GHI. Okay? So angle G matches with A, then H would be matched up with B. Those are corresponding angles. And because the triangles are congruent, the corresponding angles are also congruent. And then we can do the same thing for the segments. So GH, HI, and GI. All right. So now that was 180-degree rotation there. So from here to here, that was 180-degree rotation. if we did it once more, that would be 270 degrees of rotation. And then you'd have a triangle here. So we're going to do that, and we're going to have triangle JKL. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. Line everything up again, and instead of it being 2 turns, it'll be 3 turns. 1, 2, 3. Trace your triangle and label it. And again, the triangle is going to be JKL. You should be a pro at it by now. Alright, and we're going to start labeling here. This will be J, this will be K, this will be L. Alright, and you can go ahead and mark it. J, K, L, and segment JK, KL, and JL. Okay, and again, we can write the triangle congruency thing. ABC congruent to triangle JKL. Oops. All right, and that was 270 degrees of rotation. Okay, so now you have 4 congruent triangles with corresponding parts, and you have them listed with their congruent parts as well. Now you can write the statement, and you can go ahead and use your other piece of patty paper and list your corresponding segments. Go ahead and just list the corresponding segments. And the corresponding angles. Okay? If you have any questions, see your teacher. And that's it.